Rox, are we good to go?
We're ready, yes.
Thank you, Rox. Good afternoon. That's because in South Africa, it's just gone 4 minutes after 2 p.m. Good afternoon and welcome to the IFLA M&M webinar or M&M talk, the IFLA Trends and Library Marketing in the AI Age. We are glad that you are here with us. But first, before we dive into today's sessions, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Romeo Muburawa Matumba, and I'm the Marketing and Communication Librarian at the Durban University of Technology in South Africa. Also a member of the Library and Information Association of South Africa, commonly known as LIASA. Thank you very much for joining us today. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be with us, and we are glad that you are here with us. Today's session, we have with us 3 speakers. As you saw per the invite, the session is going to focus on AI in libraries. Hence, we have someone who's also going to share with you in terms of the IFLA Trend Report. And before I do that, just to share with you that, you know, the AI, or rather artificial intelligence, it's something that's not only affecting libraries and those who are working in information service sector, but it's something that is affecting everyone across the globe. Hence, as IFLA M&M, we saw that it's crucial that we invite professionals and specialists in the field to help us understand better our knowledge, and increase the knowledge, and also for all of us to benefit from this baby of the 4th industrial revolution. In South Africa, we say Sanbonani or Dumelang. Maybe you can also in the chat, if the admin is allowing you, also maybe just write and tell us how you greet each other in your languages wherever you are. Colleagues, we are in for an insightful and thought-provoking session. So please join me in welcoming, or rather introducing our speakers today. And I will start with our first speaker, who's Stephen Wyber from the IFLA headquarters, who will give us an overview of the current IFLA Trend Report. And then we'll move on to Dr. Mashilo Modiba from South Africa, who will speak about the AI and smart libraries. And then our last speaker will be Dr. Christie Koontz, who will also speak about marketing in modern times and with modern technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting further time, I will now invite our first speaker, Stephen Wyber, from the headquarters, to maybe before he starts his presentation, to also start by just giving us a little background about himself before we get into his presentation. Stephen, are you ready?
I am. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for the welcome, and thank you for the invitation to speak with you today. So I'm Stephen Wyber. I've been at IFLA for a bit, but my role is as Director of External Affairs. And in that role, I work with colleagues focusing on questions around advocacy and policy, also around communications, and thinking about how we can build up capacity at all levels in the library field to really realise the potential of libraries to change lives for the better. So the brief I got was to talk a little bit about the IFLA Trend Report, and so I'm going to run through that, but really with a strong perspective, a strong focus, I hope, on what does this mean for marketing, when we're thinking, how can it help us think more purposefully, how can it help us think more effectively, hopefully, about library marketing, library management, because I think ultimately the whole point of the Trend Report is there to be a tool. You'll see this word used a number of times. It's supposed to be generative, not definitive, not conclusive. It's there to start conversations, not end them. So let's start with, I want you to start by just imagining yourself into the future. This is the perspective that we're using with the Trend Report is 5 to 10 years into the future. A first scenario, AI has been broadly accepted. It's been broadly embraced by people, brought into people's lives. We have a wealth of tools, of applications of AI that are helping people to live lives more easily, but in a more connected, in a more effective way. It helps us with everything from planning our days to communicating with others, to discovering new communities, new cultures, discovering the work of people around the world. But it's also somewhere that people feel empowered. They feel able to actually have a say in what happens with this technology and how it's applied. In this scenario, libraries have a key role as life hubs, places where people are really able to mobilize technology in order to support their goals, to go further than they ever thought was possible. Scenario 2, a little bit more agnostic. AI has become the primary source of content. Most of what we see in front of us, when we go online, when we open a book even, has been written by AI. And some people have gone along with this, some people haven't. There's a greater awareness of the value of the importance of human creativity. And so some people are focusing very much on what is the value, what is particularly special about human created works, what advantages does this have over AI. Amongst AI applications, some are good, there are some that are bad. The role of libraries in this world is changing. It's an acceptance that AI exists, and it's really helping people to navigate through this, to think hard about what is different, what has not changed, what is different, what stayed the same. A third scenario: concentration of economic power in the hands of AI companies has grown. The level of control over the internet has just grown, has expanded. And governments have been very happy to take money and to take support from AI companies in order to hold off on regulation. However, growing evidence about challenges, about crises and disasters caused by misapplication of AI, concerns about the loss of human agency linked to the use of AI, have led to an uprising, have led to people coming together and forming at first local citizens or assemblies, but ultimately a people's technology authority, which governments are not able to ignore. We've seen a real sort of flip back, a real rise in a readiness to stand up, to regulate proactively, but also to invest in the infrastructures and the tools that we need in order to be able to ensure that people are able to use AI, as well as to invest in the development of AI technologies that actually really work for people. So you've got three scenarios there, three different potential ways in which the future could play out. And clearly that's not, none of these are certain. We could see a combination of all of them. But I think a really key point about this, and this is going to be one of the key takeaways from my intervention as a whole, is that fundamentally the future is uncertain. It can go in many different ways. The development of technology is not linear. There are decision points, there are points where things could go one way or the other, but clearly it's not just technology that is influencing what happens. Environmental factors, political factors, social factors, cultural factors. There are so many factor trends that actually interact, that play off against each other, that have the sort of chaos reaction that could take us in many different ways. And crucially, what this means is that we are facing a future that is uncertain. The Trend Report is precisely that, a way to start thinking about the future, a way to start thinking about what might happen, what's the spectrum of possibilities, where could things go, and at least then to look to actually be ready, to try and be ready to address them. So the Trend Report itself, as I said, it's a conversation starter. We published it for the first time primarily in September of last year, put out an updated version last month with more content. As I said, it's generative rather than predictive. It's a tool, it looks at what's happening, it looks at what's likely to happen. And big thanks to Professor Michael Deswani and Dr. Kim Osman at the Queensland University of Technology, who really led in doing this alongside some of our guest contributors to that. At the core of the Trend Report is a set of 7 high-level trends, and we'll talk about these shortly, but they are based on a pretty comprehensive, certainly not fully comprehensive, not looking at absolutely everything. And I think there's a strong awareness that this is a report that was put together by 2 people based in Australia. What they find, the sorts of resources that Google show you when you're based in Australia are not the same as those that you're shown if you're based somewhere else in the world. But these are people with a strong research background, a strong awareness of how to look for material. So they went through about 515 materials that we looked at trends, looked at factors that are shaping our future over that sort of 5 to 10 year horizon, to come up with a set of ideas of what are those trends, what are the sub-trends within there, looking at which ones are most prominent, which ones seem most relevant in terms of what's going to shape the future of knowledge and information. The work also benefited from consultations with expert groups in order to shape these ideas further, to make sure we were covering all that was relevant and all sort of key areas for libraries. So to run through the trends, firstly, quite an existential one: what is knowledge? And the idea that practices and even the definition, our understanding of what knowledge is no longer necessarily what it was. And certainly on the positive side, this awareness that there are different types of knowledge. So things that used not to be seen as being worth putting in a book, not worth writing down, people's experiences that were just dismissed, not considered important. We're getting better at seeing that actually they do matter. Similarly, the capacity to gather data, to collect information that no one would have even thought to have collected in the past, is growing as we become aware, as we become conscious of what's possible with this. At the same time, we're also seeing the rise in the ability to create fake knowledge, misleading knowledge through fake news. And at the same time, also new ways of actually sharing this. And just to say, in each of these slides, I've put down a couple of ideas about questions which some of these raise for how we think about marketing and how we think about promoting libraries, but I'll come back to some of these later. This is, of course, the big topic of this webinar on the role of AI, the role of other technologies. And clearly, when this was written, still the case now, there's a huge focus on generative AI. What it means on the positive side, all the things that it does make possible, and simply the awe at what technology is now capable of, but also concerns about both upstreams, what it means for creators, what it means for the production of knowledge in the first place, but also what it means for how we understand how the information landscape, the information we're shared, where that's come from, what's shaped that, how much transparency can we actually expect. And generative AI, I think, on the positive side, certainly has huge possibilities to open up education, to open up cultures, to create new content, new ideas that may not have, new content that didn't exist before. At the same time, there are clearly significant concerns about the harms. We talked about fake information, about deep fakes. But even beyond AI, and I'm conscious we focus a lot on generative AI, which is a small subset of all AI, and AI is a small subset of all technology. And so we shouldn't get carried away just because generative AI is the hottest thing right now. There are, of course, other forms of technology. I think people don't really talk about metaverses so much or VR so much, but we are seeing, for example, the development of technologies around digital twins, for example, for countries or cultures that are at threat of destruction from climate change. How do you actually create a digital replica? But similarly, the creation of digital replicas of people. Each of us has a personality made up, an existence rather, in terms of data online that can be used by companies to analyze our practice. There's lots of information about that online, but then that raises questions about privacy, around control over that, around agency. Thirdly, trust is being renegotiated. We are seeing, while levels of trust in scientists and to some extent business are remaining relatively high, some sources that previously used to be able to bank on, to guarantee very high levels of trust, are certainly enjoying less right now, at least if survey data is to be believed. Governments are certainly seen as less authoritative. Traditional media is seen as less authoritative. We're certainly in an age where simply demanding to be trusted doesn't seem to work anymore. And in fact, may lead to the opposite effect. At the same time, we're also seeing disappearance of local media, the emergence of news deserts, but I think also some interesting questions about the open movement. I think certainly as questions around the rights, the interests of Indigenous communities and the open movement clash into each other, as questions about what people are willing to accept in terms of openness happen. There are some really interesting questions and debates going on there. Fourthly, skills and abilities are becoming more complex. In order to navigate the information and knowledge environment of today, people need a greater set of skills. You can't just go on the sort of the most basic forms of literacy that maybe once upon a time were considered enough. I think in some ways this is certainly for all the people who've been talking about the importance of information literacy for over 50 years. This is in some way gratifying that finally the world has caught up and understood the value of that. And there's a potential there that as there's understanding of this, there's greater investment in that. There's an ability to help create more media and information literate people, better able to create, to share, to behave, to work with each other effectively and responsibly. There's also, and this gets talked about plenty, a lack of skills out there. There's huge possibilities for those who do have the abilities to work with knowledge and information in the digital world. For those who are left out, there are more challenges. This can also obviously have issues for competitiveness and employment in general. Linked to that, the digital divide continues. As more goes online, the share of the population who are not online, who are not connected, falls. But the risk is that increasingly there is no alternative. We are moving from a world where you have digital and physical alongside to digital first, to digital only. And often those people who actually require services, who may benefit most from access to possibilities created by digital, they're the ones who don't necessarily have connections. And this can mean that simply by standing still, you fall behind. There are questions as things move on about what does this mean about digital identity, what's required, how much do you need to hand over, how much do you need to trust others in order to be able to access services. And I know there's been some deep discussions about this, and both on the positive and negative side. At the same time, there's also the huge potential for digital to be a driver of inclusion when it does work to help people leapfrog, to jump over stages of development. And I think these are well money now, but the successes that they've had in jumping through 200 years of banking history in parts of the world that otherwise would have been long left behind are indeed very powerful. There's the environmental factor, the fact that climate change is happening. It is already having a major effect on communities and libraries, and therefore on the information, the knowledge that they hold, they share, that they create. There's a strong likelihood that as regulation cranks up, as there's a greater need to actually limit waste, we're going to have to change our behaviors, and in particular as knowledge, as information, as a digital intensive sector, that does have an impact on libraries. At the same time, there's also a potential there to think more about, well, what does it take to change behaviors? Because in the end, addressing climate change, it will require central action. It will require the big companies to change their habits, but it also requires behavior change at the level of consumers, often including, of course, of library users. And finally, the seventh trend focuses on community connections, this idea that there's, to some extent, a snapback, reaction against the drive towards being online, a greater valuing of being together. And I think in particular, the pandemic arguably is behind some of this idea that people are actually appreciating living in a place where they can walk to everything they want to do, valuing the fact of having people around them, looking for new ways to actually work together, to collaborate, and to really give value to the place they're in. At the same time, we shouldn't forget the value of those online communities that have often been so powerful in helping people who maybe find no one who shares their experience, no one who shares their perspectives, no one who shares their interests within their own communities. And rather, this actually then allows them, this creates a possibility to connect with people, to find a sense of meaning, identity, and well-being that they wouldn't have without those connections. So these are all set out in far more detail and far more elegantly and eloquently in the report itself. What you'll also find in the report is a shift. It's talking about scenarios. I gave examples of this at the beginning, and I talked a little bit about the fact that in the end, looking at a single trend is so useful. It provides so much value, but in the end, shaped by one single trend. The future will be shaped by a chaotic combination of trends bumping into each other. Some are the ones that I've mentioned, some which I've not talked about, which you maybe even haven't thought about, which are just a weak signal right now. But what the trend report then tries to do is sets out a full 16 different visions from experts in the field about what sort of world could we actually be in. And I think we caused the authors a lot of discomfort because they are proper social science researchers. They're very much focused on looking at evidence and trying to build insights and understanding of how the world is today and why we got there. I think asking them to do creative writing was ambitious, but they've done a really fantastic job, and we benefited from another 6 authors from around the world who've also shared ideas. But the idea is that they're supposed to really help, again, step away from this, following uncertainty, looking at the idea, getting rid of, getting over the idea of uncertainty, and actually trying to visualize practically what that world might be. And crucially, I think we do this, and this is a key idea behind futures thinking in general, in order to actually test out some of our assumptions, test out our ideas. We have, I said 16. I've just put the titles down there. Some of them are far more, some of them are far more suggestive than others. I think some of them are nicely clickbaity. But I do recommend actually looking through these. I think you have a really nice, and in each case, you can very strongly feel the combination. You can see that all of these are based in some way on combinations, on clashes, on coming togethers of the different trends that we have set out. Oops, wrong button. Another thing that we did coming out of the trend report, and I'm extremely grateful to the emerging leaders who came together to do this, was also actually start thinking about what is it that, what are the skills that we need coming out of here. And I think, again, going back to that point about we use scenarios, we use trends in order to test assumptions, to see where we're making assumptions which we shouldn't be making, to test out whether there are blind spots, that there are things that we haven't thought about, that we haven't taken into account. And so what our emerging leaders did, they sat down for a day, they wrote notes throughout the entire Information Futures Summit, and thinking about, well, given all of these things going on, given all of these trends, what needs to be in the skills toolkit for librarians going forwards. And so I will share links to all of this in the chat shortly. But I think hopefully usefully, interestingly for this audience, they definitely thought that a number of the issues covered by, most of the key issues covered by management and marketing section were particularly useful. And clearly we have the word marketing appears in the skill B1 that was set out as advocacy, outreach, marketing, and communication, based on the idea that whatever happens, we need to maintain a connection. We need to be able to influence people. We need to be able to shape what others think about us and shape how other people perceive us, rather than just having an identity, having a story ascribed, given to us. The importance of community building, collaboration, and networking. I think it's almost a continuation of that same thing, that in any case, under any scenario, under any future world, if a library isn't able to connect with its community, to mobilize its community, then nothing's going to work out. And then finally, storytelling skills, and it's almost a subset of how we do advocacy and community building, but that ability to actually tell that narrative and, again, shape the way that we are seen, came out as being systematically important, something that we need under all of the scenarios in which we might be. So I suppose coming towards the end, and just to bring things together a little bit, I think, as I said at the beginning, as I've said a number of times, the trend report is there. It's not there to be read in a passive way, just to be consumed and then you smile and then move on to something else. It's there as a tool. It's there to start conversations. It's there to be generative, not definitive, not definitive, not decisive. And so we really encourage, and I think in any sub-community within the library field, within any institution, to actually look at those trends. As I said, they come from a perspective, from a time, with a set of materials that come in there. Looking back, looking at and thinking, well, are there other trends we need to take into account? Are there other things based on our knowledge of our communities, on our knowledge of the issues, on emerging issues? Are there other trends we should bring in? Are there other scenarios? Or do we feel that some potential futures are not being taken into account? And then actually use these, sit down, step away from the trend report and apply it to yourself. I think crucially, use them either take your existing plans, your existing assumptions, and test them against these different ways that the world may go. See if these actually reveal that you're making assumptions about what's going to be possible, or do your assumptions, do the bases of your planning actually stand up? Are there blind spots? Are there things that you've just not thought about that you take for granted? I think that's always a really useful tool that comes from this. And and this is as part of the most recent update on the trend report, we have a whole chapter on futures thinking. It includes a lot of links to other materials from elsewhere, but again, this idea of building up futures thinking as a really crucial skill, and I think a really interesting skill in terms of being one that's actually quite empowering. We'll come back to that in a second. We're nearly there. I think just thinking more specifically about where you might want to focus when you're looking at management and marketing questions, all of the trends, all of the scenarios lead us and encourage us to ask questions. But well, in this world, and as a user-focused sector, as user-focused institutions, what will actually matter to those users? What are their lives like? And what does this mean? Can we actually do that day in the life exercise of a typical library user, or a range of typical library users? We can think about, well, who are our competitors and the things that we want to do? Who else is doing them? Why might people use them, not us? Why may they spend their time, their effort, their energy there and not on us? We can think, going back to that core function of libraries, of turning access to knowledge into positive outcomes. How can we actually do that under these different scenarios? What does that look like as a task? What's necessary? And crucially, what tools will we have? I think it's a massive generalization. There's an argument that social media is the golden age of social media over. If we can make significantly less use of digital tools because they're more expensive, because we need to waste less, what does that actually mean? So thinking through some of those questions is hopefully valuable. Summarizing very quickly, just in terms of key takeaways that have come from the trend report, and just going back to that core point at the beginning, the trend report is built based on the idea that it is a mistake to believe in a certain predefined future, and in particular to think in a certain predefined future which is the same as today. And it's an easy thing to say. It does arguably go against human nature. We do tend to plan for a single way ahead. We do tend to assume that the way the world is today will continue. And so it does require discipline to move beyond that. But at the same time, it's not an excuse, and it certainly shouldn't be a reason to put hands in the air and say, well, this is all too hard, it's all too uncertain. Do's, the positives, use publications like the Trend Report, use some of the ideas provided in the chapter on futures thinking to actually become agents in shaping their future, because you can't know what it is, but you can definitely be more prepared for it, and you can definitely shape it by being proactive. And at the macro level, this is interesting because there will always be some people who are putting money into it. Certainly, futures thinking very much comes from big industry. The oil sector has always been a key leader in that. Major governments, the Rand Corporation, militaries have always been quite good at this. There's hopefully a strong argument for saying that, well, it shouldn't just be these guys who are doing that work, that this is something that everyone should be involved in, because if everyone's involved in it, everyone can have a say in shaping it, shaping how we prepare, how we in turn shape those futures. But also at the individual level, it's a question of agency that is the difference between being passive and being scared and feeling like we have nothing, we are powerless and not able to do anything. And on the other hand, feeling like, no, we do have a handle on what's going on and we're realistic about what we can know, but at the same time, we can do something about it. And that's it's a great driver of well-being and empowerment when people actually feel like they have a say, they have a chance to influence, that they're not just passengers, bystanders, passive. So I think that, just to finish on that particular note, and this is definitely what comes out of this, and hopefully it can inspire us as we go through the rest of the webinar, is that crucially, yes, we're facing uncertainty, but uncertainty does not mean powerlessness. We can plan for it, we can structure our thinking about it, and that's ultimately what the Trend Report is there to do. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me just switch on my video again here. Thank you very much, Stephen, for this thought-provoking, presentation. I have a few comments, and I know other colleagues will probably have comments and questions, but we will leave that for our last part, which will be the Q&A. So please don't disappear. This is wonderful work, and we would like to engage with you during our Q&A. Colleagues, before I move on to the next speaker, just to also acknowledge those colleagues who have joined us a little bit later. Welcome to the M&M talk, where we're focusing on AI and during this AI generation. The next speaker, I have his bio and I will be reading it. But before I read it, just to also acknowledge colleagues who've been sharing their greetings, the different greetings from different countries. I see bonjour. Yes, parlez-vous français? Good. Nda, Sanbonani, Dimasiari, Dumelang. Thank you very much for sharing your greetings. We learn every day. Colleagues, the next speaker is a colleague from South Africa. And before he starts with his presentation, I will read his short bio. And I hope my voice will do justice. I didn't bring that other voice. We have librarians have two voices. So let me just go through it. Dr. Mashilo, this is the one that I've paid for now, the voice, I mean. Dr. Mashilo Modiba is a senior lecturer at the University of South Africa, known as UNISA, in the Department of Information Science. His doctoral research focused on utilizing artificial intelligence technology for the management of records at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research in South Africa. Dr. Modiba's expertise extends to various facets of information science, such as archives, record management, and library services. As an active participant in academic and professional circles, Dr. Modiba has contributed significantly to the advancement of knowledge and practices within his field. He was privileged to be a resident at the Fabalul Alert Residency on Artificial Intelligence and Archives in April 2023, hosted at Spain in Olota and Girona. With a passion for sharing knowledge, Dr. Modiba frequently participates as a guest speaker in workshops, seminars, symposiums, and conferences on emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, cloud computing, blockchain, big data technology in the context of LIS. He is recognized internationally, having presented papers in various countries, including Hong Kong, Rome, Gaborone, Alot, Girona, Louisiana, and Abu Dhabi. Beyond academic pursuits, he is also an author, having penned the motivational book titled From Agony to Glory, A Journey of Perseverance and Battles That Elicit My Inner Power. His topic today is artificial intelligence-driven smart technologies or smart libraries, the role of cybrarianship in Society 5.0. And he will focus on AI and libraries, current trends, benefit, challenges, and recommendations to libraries. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Dr. Mashilo Modiba. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Chair of the session. I'm not sure if I'm audible. Can you just confirm?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you also confirm if my screen is sharing?
Yes, you are sharing the screen. I can see the topic, and I see you are now on points of discussion.
That's excellent. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I really value this opportunity given by IFLA to come and have a frank discussion under the topic Artificial Intelligence-Driven Smart Libraries, the role of cybrarianship in Society 5.0. That is what I'm going to talk about. If I can just take you through the points of discussion, I will have introduction, then I'm going to contextualize the concept cybrarianship, then Society 5.0. Then I'm going to touch base on a conceptual framework, a problem and the purpose, which includes the objectives. Then I will unpack the objectives, 3 points there: the role, the skills, the tools, Then I will address the recommendation. There's a framework that I'm recommending, then I will conclude. I'm gonna just be a bit fast so that I can finish on time. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you follow me. This is, colleagues, a literature review based kind of a study that is focused on content analysis. Colleagues, I think we can all agree, sitting here, that AI can indeed play a major role in the establishment of smart libraries for Society 5.0, because that's where we are at the moment. We are in the 5th industrial revolution, and AI play a critical role in the establishment and development of smart libraries. Hence, now we also have the term cybrarianship, which stands for cyber librarian. These are skilled librarians who are having the skills of digital technologies, and they can also utilize AI and algorithms to deliver enhanced LIS, the library information science services to Society 5.0. And when we talk about AI, colleagues, we talk about the use of advanced software, the use of algorithms and systems that are AI embedded, that can enable the creation and the operation of smart libraries that is tailored for Society 5.0. And basically, when you talk about smart libraries, we are talking about digital libraries or virtual libraries, where digital services are provided without physical shelves, without traditional lending. We don't have traditional systems in the smart libraries. These are digital services. These are visual services that are catered for smart users. And when you talk about this digital libraries, colleagues, they provide services anytime, anywhere, as long as the user has internet connectivity and smart technology. But then the argument here is that AI can transform the LI space, and not only transforming the LI space, and also empower librarians to become cyber librarians who will be equipped to support the digital needs of Society 5.0. And beyond offering access, cybrarians can also support patrons with regard to digital literacy training so that they can help them to navigate and utilize digital library resources independently. If we want to suit or if we want to fit into the concept of Society 5.0, our users must independently utilize our digital services in our smart libraries. The role is essential, colleagues, in Society 5.0, where digital fluency is key. So in the context of smart libraries, when we talk about Society 5.0, we talk about the society that is acclimatized to digital technology as a way of living. The likes of AI, the likes of IoT, data analytics, where colleagues, they will be able to receive and get digital services within our smart libraries. For libraries, this means evolving into smart libraries that are interactive, personalized, and inclusive. And through AI, librarians can transform libraries to meet Society 5.0 information needs effectively, ensuring accessibility for all. Now, if we can just contextualize the concept cybrarianship, I know I've alluded to it, but we talk about the integration of digital technologies into library science, transforming digital librarians to tech-savvy information professionals. Like I've alluded before, these are cyber librarians who can provide services digitally using digital platforms and technology to serve the information needs of the Society 5.0. These are digital collection management, colleagues. These are data analytics. And these people are AI literate. They can be able to provide services through AI. They can also be able to analyze data, the usage of information resources, statistics as to who comes to the library using big data technology, and also using blockchain technology that is embedded in the LIS systems that they are utilizing. So in short, when we talk about cyber librarians, we are talking about such people who can provide digital services. They are information literate, and they can also be able to provide information literacy skills to patrons. And I've also touched base on the digital literacy and AI literacy. They can also integrate the use of IoT, that is Internet of Things, within the library space. The use of radio frequency identification device can be utilized, colleagues, not only to manage the information resources, but also to track and make a quick access to any information resource in the library. And colleagues, they can perform all these responsibilities remotely and visually because they are AI literate, they are digital literate, and they are information literate. So if we want to become cybrarians, we need to be literate to that extent. But now, if we can just focus a bit on the context of Society 5.0 that I've already alluded to, especially in the context of smart libraries. In Society 5.0, smart libraries evolve to better integrate technology and human-centered services to meet societal needs. And these needs must be personalized. These needs must be personalized to the extent that the users in the smart library can also have access to customized information service. Normally, colleagues, and always, when you enter into a digital space, it can be even digital library, you leave the digital footprint. And that digital footprint that you use, it's important for the organization that you visit digitally to be able to know the kind of the information that you research about when you visit them digitally. And that information can be utilized to customize recommendation for you, to customize services for you. And this is what is normally happening in the Society 5.0. The other most important element of Society 5.0 is inclusivity, the inclusive access. And this access is important because it covers even the disadvantaged society, like the disabled people. Through technology, they can be able to utilize our services in the library. Those who can speak this other language, but not that other language, they can also be able to translate through the systems that we have in the library. So we need to cater our services to accommodate the Society 5.0, because that's where we are. But I know, colleagues, it's sometimes difficult, especially in the developing countries, to be where the developed countries are. This study, colleagues, is based on a conceptual framework, which is consisting of two models. The first model is artificial intelligence model. The second model is digital transformation model. Under artificial intelligence model, my focus is basically on the role of AI in the development of smart libraries rather. What is the role of AI in smart libraries? How can the Society 5.0 benefit from utilizing AI in the smart libraries? Then on digital transformation model, two concepts which are very much important. Which tools are required for us to transform our libraries into smart libraries? what are the skills needed? And the skills can be from both librarians and the users. But skills, very important, colleagues, because without the skill, we are not going to be able to establish or have access to the smart libraries I'm talking about. I think I tried to summarize the slide that is before you at the moment on AI model, on digital transformation model. The problem, colleagues, here is that it is difficult for libraries to transform into smart libraries, especially in the developing countries. And some of the developed countries, the libraries are struggling to transform because there's a lack of AI tools which are important in the transformation of libraries, or the 5IR technologies, because there is a huge difference, colleagues, between the 4IR and the 5IR, because in the fourth industrial revolution, even if AI is paramount, important, even if AI is integral to 4IR, but robotic machines that are intelligent are able to provide services with limited or without human intervention, which is not the same in the 5IR. Because in the fifth industrial revolution, there is a collaboration between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. That is why now in the fifth industrial revolution, we are not talking about robots, but we are talking about cobot. The word, the core in the cobot basically stands for collaboration. So in the developing countries, it is difficult because we lack tools, appropriate tools, the 5IR tools to transform our libraries into smart libraries, so that we can be able to serve the needs of the fifth industrial revolution society. Not only the resources, but also the skills that are needed for us to be able to adopt and to transform our libraries into smart libraries. We need digital literate librarians. We need AI literate librarians, so that we can utilize this skill to transform our libraries into smart libraries. And again, colleagues, there is a lack of scientific research. There is a lack of funding, especially in academic libraries, that further hinders the adoption of AI to transform our libraries. So we are faced with challenges. We don't even have investment, we don't have budget, we don't have training, and even the skill for our librarians to now become techno-savvy and be able to deliver services digitally, assist users digitally to the level that we should be saying we are ready now to transform our libraries into smart libraries. That is why there's a need to overcome these challenges. That is why there's a need for government to invest in AI tools, in training, so that our librarians can also transform into smart librarians, into cyber librarians, or into embedded librarians, or the cyber librarians that I'm talking about. So for us to be able to transform our libraries, we need funding, and we also need the skill. That is why now this study is focusing on the explore the role, so that we can entice our librarians to have interest and to research on this animal AI for transformation, and also to have scientific studies that we produce out of this presentation. What are the objectives? 3 objectives. The first one, we check on the roles of AI to establish smart libraries. The second one, the skills. The third one, the tools, and the recommended framework on how I think as a researcher, industries can adopt this framework. Of course, the framework is at an infant stage. It can be developed with a proper study, with a proper research at master's and PhD level. That is why, colleagues, I am making an appeal to the students who are in this webinar to look into topics such as this one, especially in the developing countries such as South Africa and others in the African continent. What are the roles, colleagues? The first one, smart search and recommendation. I talked about recommendation. the customized recommendation, of course, that is based on your digital footprint as you search for anything, as you engage the library, any library that is digitally, so you are leaving your digital footprint and they can use that to do what? To send you a customized library service, which is very important. And that's what AI specializes on, to make sure that you get customized services. Even the smart search, where you are assisted by AI in terms of your searching abilities. And there are examples, there are tools, AI tools that can enable smart users to have a smart search or recommendation. And one of them is the Ex Libris, Primo, and Alma. There are many systems that colleagues can assist in this regard on the issue of smart search and recommendation. Second one is immersive learning. Now, through the use of augmented reality, through the use of visual reality technology, that is AI-powered, libraries can create immersive, intelligent environment for historical tours, scientific exploration, and cultural experiences, making learning even more interesting and more engaging. I know, I've seen colleagues, there are libraries in South Africa, for example, that are trying to make use of augmented reality and visual reality. I've seen one in the University of Northwest, where they are doing much better, colleagues, with regard to immersive learning environment. That I make an appeal to other universities, other libraries to make use of this tool. And this tool is very important because it can even connect students in different campuses within the country or even abroad. So we don't have to physically meet, we can meet digitally and engage on a project utilizing augmented reality and visual reality. Remote access, colleagues, it goes without saying. AI allows smart libraries to expand their research, offering visual tour, digital exhibits, and remote access to resources. Remote access to resources, digital access to resources. I mean, colleagues, it is without any argument that where we are, we need not to physically visit the library to utilize the services of the library or to get books. Books are online. We have got the e-books that we can have access to. And if AI is embedded into such services, it can even make things much easier for the users to utilize the resources and even get recommendation on similar research, on similar research articles and papers that they are looking for in the library. The smart inventory management, colleagues, AI-enabled radio frequency identification device or smart library app or any IoT sensor can help track books and other resources in real time. This then optimizes inventory and reducing loss and time, which is very important. I mean, sometimes you look for a book in the library, you can't even see it. You can take 30 minutes looking for a book. Sometimes even our users are smart enough to hide books that they want to utilize. So they hide books for other users so that every time they come to the library, they will get access to that book. But imagine if we utilize an IoT device for tracking, which means it doesn't matter where that book is hidden. Through smart library app, it can be traced, it can be tracked, and it can be utilized by anyone. Even if they can hide it, technology can find it. I want to speak to all of them for the sake of time, colleagues. I will touch them here and there. Community analytics, AI can analyze community needs, which is very important because you are not going to be able to provide effective, efficient services without community needs analysis. You need to analyze the needs of the community, their interests, and that will help you, will guide libraries in creating programs, purchasing information resources, hosting events that meet societal demand. And how can we do this? We have got an AI device, we put it in the library where most of the users are passing or engaging with it, maybe looking for books in the library. Then it collects information on our behalf. And that information can be analyzed and will be able to determine the information needs of our community. And that can help us now to come up with these programs I'm talking about. What are the skills? We need digital and technological literacy skill, very important. If we want to utilize these tools, we need to be able to utilize them. Then we need to invest in what? In training. We must train our librarians to become cybrarians. Then they will be able to utilize AI tools, IoT tools, or let me just rather say the 5 IR technological tools. They will be able to utilize them, and they will be able to adopt, they will be able to implement and develop this smart lab I'm talking about. But without that skill, without this literacy, we cannot even start it. Data analysis and interpretation. Cybrarians must be researchers. Our job must be to research, because where do you get data analysis skills? Where do you get data interpretation skills? When we do research, there are tools, AI tools that we can utilize, things like Atlas TI that can be utilized to analyze and interpret data for us. Where then are you going to be able to utilize this kind of tools and be good in data analysis, be good in data interpretation, if we are not the researchers? Be a researcher to the extent that we can even do your PhD or master's degree, because that's where all these skills are utilized. We need to be project managers. We need to be good in managing projects. As librarians, as cybrarians, we deal with a lot of projects. And if you don't have a skill to manage a project, then we are going to have a problem. You must be able to plan a project. You must be able to execute a project. And you must even be able to integrate new technology into project management and into LI services. You must be good in budgets. You must be good in timeline. You must be punctual. You must be good in adhering to timelines, and you must be able to work with other cybrarians. You can't work in silos. The AI, the machine learning knowledge, I think I've alluded to it. It is important that we research about AI and we contextualize our research, because we are the cybrarians, we are the information professionals. So for me, AI, wherever I go, wherever I speak, in conferences, in workshops, in seminars, I ensure that my talk is customized, is contextualized, because I'll be talking to librarians. And colleagues, I'm not going to talk about the tools or the examples because they are there. I know we use the press reader, we use the Vivo, we use all these tools, colleagues. They are there, even if I'm not going to touch base on them, but you can be able to see them there. Digital content creation management, augmented and virtual reality proficiency. Then, colleagues, this talks to also our LI schools in the continent or in developing countries or in the world, because this might be a worldwide problem. We need to check our curriculum in the universities, LI schools. Is what we are offering in line with what is happening today, in line with where we are going? Is what we are offering in line with this presentation? Because that's where we can get the skills, because universities, colleges are for skills and are for research. The tools, colleagues, smart shelves, very important. We need the smart shelves, AI-driven search engines. We need chatbots and AI chatbots. Not just any chatbot, like, I'm not too sure if Ask the Librarian is AI embedded these days, but we need an AI chatbot that is integrated to all the services in the library, so that when I use it from home, I'm looking for a book, it must be able to provide me with the information, or even to provide me with the ebook that I'm looking for. So it is important that we have got the chatbot, not only the chatbot and even the visual assistants, the machine learning, the cloud storage. I mean, without cloud storage, we are not going to go anywhere, colleagues. The use of robots, the use of cobot, and we need to automate our processes in the library. In the continent, the issue of high-speed connectivity is very important. This is the framework that I'm recommending, colleagues. I'm just going to talk to it. I'm not going to take you to the next slide, because that's where I'm unpicking this. But what I'm saying is that for us to be able to transform from legacy systems to smart systems in our libraries, we need to have a chatbot. We need to have library management systems, databases that are AI embedded. We need to have the augmented reality tech, the visual reality tech, the smart shelves. We need to have cloud services and visual assistants. For chatbots, services can be provided anytime, anywhere. Our clientele utilizes the library in different times. When I wake up 1 a.m., I must be able to utilize the library. And even the systems that we are using must be AI, so that they can even recommend some of the articles or books that I might not be looking for in the library, or customize our services. Smart shelves, very important, because through IoT devices, we can track the books, we can trace them. Cloud services, colleagues, all these services can be digital only if they are embedded in a cloud service. Visual assistant, I think I've also touched based on it, so that colleagues, it can allow people to speak to get a service, to type to get a service, so that everybody can be able to utilize it. The augmented reality, visual reality, even for laboratories that we do, for collaboration, for researchers to collaborate, we can utilize these colleagues. Then as I conclude now, in conclusion, AI-driven smart library can play a crucial role in Society 5.0 by enhancing how we access and integrate with information. This library is guided by the concept cybrarianship, leverage AI, big data, and IoT to offer personalized, efficient, and more inclusive services. AI can help users find resources faster, provide recommendations tailored to individual needs, and support learning and research in new ways. In Society 5.0, smart libraries contribute to more connected and intelligent world, where technology not only boosts knowledge access, but also improve quality of life and promote social well-being. Then through this advancement, librarians helps bridge the gap between technology and human-centered values, ensuring that everyone can benefit from the digital future. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is true that AI can transform our traditional libraries into smart libraries. Thank you very much.
Wow. What a wow. Colleagues, let's give him a round of applause. Obviously, we will use our visual claps. Thank you very much, Dr. Modiba. What a thought-provoking presentation. And I know that colleagues will probably have burning questions and comments that they would like to place. So thank you very much for this session. I think we will have a lot more to engage during our Q&A. And also thank you for summarizing. I know that this presentation would have taken another hour, but thank you very much for summarizing. Colleagues, as we move on with our program, the next speaker, I see people have hands. We will have a Q&A after all the presentation. So the next speaker is going to be Dr. Christie Koontz, who's also a colleague or a member of the IFLA Management and Marketing Standing Committee. I'm not sure if she wanted me to read a bio, but I used AI and I have a bio, so maybe she will tell us if what I'm reading, if AI has this thing all corrected. So, and it's a short one, and it goes like this. Okay, let me bring that voice again. Dr. Christie Koontz is an esteemed academic and researcher based in Tallahassee, Florida. She earned a PhD from Florida State University in 1990 and has significantly contributed to the fields of library science and information studies as an adjunct professor at FSU's College of Communication and Information, as she teaches courses in marketing, management, and storytelling. Her research focuses on identifying underserved public library markets through the use of geographic information systems, aiming to enhance service development and delivery. Beyond her academic role, Dr. Koontz serves as the director of the Florida Book Awards, a position she's held since June 2016. She's also dedication to the library science and education, has earned her numerous accolades, and she continues to influence the profession through her teaching, research, and mentoring. I hope AI got everything right.
Yeah. I'm all for AI after that introduction.
The stage is all yours. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm so honored to be here today and to join my colleagues on the podium and also all of you in the audience. I've heard there are over 100 of us out there as we join to further our profession, embracing new media. When I was young, I heard a story about a librarian who was a page and worked in a library, and they had a staff meeting to see if they should embrace the new paperback version of books. And so here we are, decades later, embracing AI as a tool to facilitate the success of our libraries. And I think, am I sharing my screen, Romeo?
Yes, we can see your screen. Yes.
Okay, great. I'll see if I move forward. And let's see how okay, here we go. All right, quick introduction. I'm going to go through definitions of marketing and AI. And then I created a case study using ChatGPT that you can use regularly. This type of AI for furthering planning and marketing research. As Romeo stated, for 25 years, I've taught marketing. I have the 3rd edition of my marketing book coming out. And I also taught grant writing and currently teaching storytelling, oral storytelling, a class that I developed 15 years ago for graduate librarians. And last year, the students used AI to develop a digital storytelling. And it was so exciting. I was thrilled. I didn't know it was coming at me. And so it's got many practical uses that don't cost anything, at least the example I'm giving. So again, marketing, from my point of view, true marketing, which is what I like to call it, is developing data-driven products and services that match customer needs. And it also has cognizance of the mission and the resources of the organization. It has 4 steps: research, segmentation, the building of the offer, and evaluation. Today's case study, I'm taking the 2 first steps and facilitating those with AI. AI, as we're coming to know it, is entering many new adaptations and generations as quickly as I'm speaking right now. Things are changing. So again, for our purposes, it emulates some human activity, and some of that can help us so we can spend our human activity in another way, certainly not to be replaced at all. So as I opened up my little small town paper here, Tallahassee, Florida, USA, the capital of Florida, just a few days ago, AI was on the front page, how AI was helping the police department, pros and cons of AI, which are good to be aware of and have cognizance of in nursing, and how the universities are handling it. So again, marketing is a process you do over and over again. You're matching consumer wants and needs with your resources and your mission. And again, we're bombarded by all these messages, and marketing, not true marketing, gets a bad rap. It's marketing, the nomenclature of mostly communications, but way down the food chain. So again, marketing is the process of identifying customer needs, doing it to satisfy customers, and applying common sense. I always tell my students, I would not be your teacher if this was about chemistry. And again, marketing is not just for the business world, it's for us. So this is my favorite definition, and it's getting the right goods and services to the right people at the right time, at the right price, at the right communication, and the right promotion. And I'm all for, my slides can be available if you'd like to access them. If that's part of what we're doing today, it's okay with me. So again, all organizations, whether it's you know, the highest end to the lowest end to the interim to the service end, we reside in an environment, and marketing research helps us find out about that environment. So if we were in the business school today and I was teaching over there instead of in the information study school, they might have a different marketing model, but they would have the same pieces. I have 4 steps that I developed with Dr. Persis Rockwood, my mentor, many years ago, and it suits our field very well. So again, marketing research has to be done. You can't jump through that to figure out who your customers are, potential and actual, and then develop the offer. That's the fun part. Like your boss said, oh, I just read American Libraries or IFLA, and libraries are doing these cool things. I want to do that at our library. Well, that may not work at your library. And that's why you can't jump to step 3. You have to do steps 1 and 2. And then, of course, we all have to evaluate what we're doing so we can see if we can be successful. So again, marketing research is acquiring data. And that's what my case study is about, how AI can help us do that quickly and without expense using ChatGPT. And again, marketing research is simply using all that data that you're collecting day to day in the library. I think sometimes library staff balk at collecting data thinking, what's this for? And it's good to explain the outcomes of data collection. Data collection is the most expensive thing you can do in your management and marketing activities. And also being a good data collector allows you to be on the ready mark to apply for grants, to go for opportunities, and to be prepared for budgets and budget cuts. So also the next step relies on marketing research, and it helps you develop knowledge of your customers, your groups, actual customers that come through the website, come through the door, the potential ones that are out there that may be a huge population that we don't know about us and we don't know about them, but we want to know about them so we can better serve their needs and make them aware of our services. So again, libraries have been doing a lot of this stuff for many, many years. We just called it different things. Think of it, libraries have practiced segmentation. We have freshmen, distance students, curricula, fields of study, adult, juvenile, teen, mystery readers, internet users. These are all segments. Geographic segmentation, I spent my life in this. I did it because I had a job to do it using GIS and looking at the equitable placement of public libraries in the United States so that these facilities could best serve populations. My work focused on the usually overlooked populations. How we better place our facilities so our libraries are in stumbling distance. But in saying that that was my job, a lot of my job was grant writing. I was in a situation I had to bring in 20% of my salary. Hey, talk about being motivated to find grants. I was, and I did it well. And I came up with some really good stuff. We had a grant to learn how and why libraries were closing. We had a grant to learn how and why librarians had the best practices to serve populations that were linguistically isolated, meaning that most people in the household didn't speak English. So I could have used AI back then, but it wasn't available. I only had me and my resources and, of course, our library databases and related databases. Here's an example. I just have to share this with you. These dots represent households that are placed on a map to show you the dispersion of users for a couple of library branches. think how useful this is for library planning. There's still been resistance in the library field because we consider this private data. But you cannot tell a thing about this dot, is what I argue. What they checked out, where they live, all this is fuzzied, as they say. So again, we have to get over some of these precepts that we have from the olden days. They don't work now. Technology can be our friend in protecting our users and our potential users. So these are other ways to segment, my goodness, and the combination is the best because it's the most definitive segment. It takes three and puts them together. So again, after you have these two steps well done, then you can begin to refine which market you're going to identify as what you're probably going to focus on for your strategic planning. This doesn't drop out of the sky. I tell students, you actually have to make a decision. You have to use the data and decide which market you're going to target. Nobody's going to give you a bad grade. You're going to use your common sense, your data, and you're going to develop target markets for your planning period and go after it. Your evaluation component will tell you if you chose the right one. So for my case study, I've chosen teens in the library service area, and the target market out of that is teens, tech-savvy teens drawn from local high school gaming clubs. This is from Kenya. I was in Kenya a couple of years ago. My colleagues there practice marketing. They developed the camel mobile. They had all the steps of research, segmentation, developed the offer, the camel with the books on its back, taking books into rural areas where children didn't have any library services. And this thing is still going because they evaluated it. So I continue to use them as my best example of marketing mix strategy. And this is the old thing you've heard about many years, the 4 Ps: product, price, place, and promotion. Well, these all work best when you have an understanding of marketing. In our field, we're so lucky. We have all these products. We even have the librarian as a product. The library is a product. We've got products out the ear, and we can use them all. The price is the sum of customer cost, not how much it costs us to provide it to the customer. That's the distinction in marketing. It's how much it costs the customer. And if it costs too much, they won't go after it. If there's too long a wait time, too long to post, too long to access, too long to travel, they may not choose us. Place is the oldest. That's where I came into marketing many years ago through the placement of public library facilities in the United States. Location, location, location. Now it's virtual as well as physical. So again, cyberspace or place can be affected. And marketing helps us. Way down the food chain is promotion. And that's why I had to drag you through this definition of true marketing, because promotion is a tool of marketing. It is not marketing singly and solely. It is a tool of marketing that we use for communication, and it can only be successfully utilized by marketing derived from marketing research and segmentation. Then and only then can you understand, for example, our case study, what media do teens use? It ain't going to be the newspaper, I'll tell you that much. So again, all these things help us choose tools and media for our target groups. So the market mix strategy simply means that you have knowledge and you tweak the marketing mix, product, price, place, and promotion most successfully to create the optimal offer that you can. Now, this you should be doing for every offer your organization is making to customers. You should be scrutinizing. I've challenged my students and also librarians when I teach workshops to get a pencil and pad and go through and look at products, look at how much you're making customers pay to access this product. and looking at how you're promoting it to them. Are you making mistakes in any of these? Can you tweak them? So here's our example of a marketing mix strategy. Our goal is we've got all this data. We want to increase use by teens in the community served. Our objectives, we set these, they don't drop out of the sky. Sorry, it doesn't pop up on your computer screen or your handheld computer. You have to make a decision based on your data. Increase awareness of the library by 25%, increase use of teen services by 50%. And again, that market is tech-savvy teens from local high school gaming clubs. So social media should have goals and objectives also. We're hand in hand now with using social media, just like one day we'll be hand in hand with AI for its utility for us in the ways that we derive. Based on our marketing research, what is the best use of any new media? Like that staff meeting did long ago, who voted to have paperbacks in the library. So we're voting now, voting on AI. So again, we evaluate everything, social media, how well it's doing. You set these evaluation and you know which ones of the media are best to reach that particular, for example, teen market. So again, if you don't establish this review process, I'll guarantee you somebody else will. I have written, oh my gosh, I'm not exaggerating because I had to. Remember, I had to bring in my salary. I've written hundreds of grants, and many have not been successful. When you lose a grant, you have to dust yourself off and do it again and save that data that you collected, because you'll probably be able to use it successfully in another opportunity. But again, if you do not set a review process in place, somebody else will. Okay, so here's an example. I tell students or workshop participants, if you don't know where to start on evaluation, brainstorm criteria, make 100, make 50, make 20, make 25, and then choose maybe 4, and then set objectives for those, and they'll be in place for your project. So how about that marketing model? Okay, so here we go to our case study. A scenario using ChatGPT for developing a public library teen space. Background, why a teen space? Well, you and I live in different communities. I live in Tallahassee, Florida. I live in the United States, but around the world, from what I read, and read a lot about what's happening in other countries, we're trying to attract that teen market because they're often lost along the way. After the big emphasis on children, children's services, children's literature, when I was growing up, there was no teen literature. You just leapfrogged into adult literature that you could get away from checking out at the public library, that your parents didn't catch you with a flashlight under your bed. So again, teens are a market that all over the globe we're trying to attract. And so again, we know this in the United States, that teen spaces and public libraries remain an only place that teens can use the Wi-Fi without buying anything. And so for many teens, these public spaces don't fit. The kids area, they're not really welcome to. And there's been a big effort in the United States, I can speak for that fully, to try to carve out space in the library facilities specifically for teens. And of course, commensurate with that are pages that are dedicated to teens. And again, these spaces are decorated in a way that attract teens and display curated materials that they are interested in. So creating data to develop a case for me to go to my management. I believe in teen spaces, but well, I'm not sure my boss does. And I might have to get together some data, do some marketing research to make a case for this. And you know what? I've read and I'm aware of AI, and I'm aware of ChatGPT, and I'm aware that I can use it. I can use it freely. I don't have to download anything. I just have to have some good, compelling questions to establish some secondary research, to establish a need for teens-only space. And for those of you who may not know, most of you probably do, primary research is when you ask somebody a question, you interview them. It takes time, it takes money, it takes a lot of okays within the research field. Secondary research is tapping into data that's already established and has been done. Like in the United States, US Census data, which for expertise to use it, I used it throughout my years of research. I did have help and access with using geographic information system software. But again, knowing that it was going to cut down on the amount of money that I needed to establish and do research. So in this case, let's say I work in a public library and I want to do this, I need to probably do it without much money involved. So here we have, again, establish research objectives to go forward. So these are the questions that I created to query ChatGPT with. Here they are. Why did teens sometimes stop using the library, and on? I'm going to go through each one quickly because I think it's really interesting. I was so excited what I came up with. I was gleeful. I almost wished I really did work for a library that needed teen space. So again, let's stop. Okay, wait a minute. What is ChatGPT? I'm getting cart before the horse. It's was created by OpenAI. It uses natural language. You can ask it questions. In this fourth generation, it has another level, which has a question at the bottom, which can help you continue your search. So while we're wanting to use it for this and that, they are hurriedly developing it so it's more useful. And again, it's generative AI. And generative is a subset of AI that produces text, images, videos, and other forms of data, and it generates information for us. So again, these slides that I'm offering today have links and a lot of good references you're welcome to. So I ask, well, what percent of USA librarians are using ChatGPT for problem solving anyway? And what I came up with is, well, that wasn't really available, but there were some studies that I could review, like the Pew Research Center, which is always a good one in our country, used by other countries, and that 20% of US adults have used ChatGPT. And again, I thought this was very interesting. And again, academic libraries, my previous speaker did such a nice job detailing the need, which is different for academic libraries, and some of the barriers, but 7% currently are using it. And again, nearly half expecting to do so. So thank you for your presentation. And thank you for the first, looking at the trends. That was so fascinating to me. Thank you. So AI literacy among library employees is a study published in 2024, and it revealed a modest self-rating understanding of AI. We librarians are so modest. You know, we know so much more about it because that's what we do. We embrace new media and we learn all about it, and then we offer it to our customers. So these findings agree that it's coming along. So then I ask, what percent of global librarians use ChatGPT? So again, there are barriers, lack of institutional training, suggesting that while it exists, formal adoption and training is still existing. Potential application is coming along. Again, these capabilities would help alleviate some more complex queries from our patients. And I feel confident that that is on the way. I feel confident that it's moving as rapidly as our needs are. There's more information from IFLA. Thank you, IFLA, once again, from the blog, from our partner, which we're offering coaching in the spring and an IFLA face-to-face. 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. So again, lots of good information. A case for teen spaces, our objectives: why are fewer teens using local public libraries? Can a designated teen space increase use? Which public libraries in Tallahassee serve the most teens, and which media are ideal? So I get right down to it and ask some more questions. Why did they stop using it? Perceived irrelevance, lack of awareness. I highlight the ones that I thought were most important for today's presentation. What do teens most like about libraries? They love the exclusive spaces, the dedicated spaces. And then I ask, well, hey, give me some examples. I need to show the boss what some of these good spaces look like. Came right up with 5 examples: Chicago, LA, Arlington, Virginia, Boston, Nashville. Terrific for me to have examples to show my boss. So common features of great teen spaces, I can share these too. I got these from ChatGPT. Tech friendly, flexible layouts. And then what do you think would make a space in a library more inviting? How about that? So again, how many public libraries are there in Tallahassee? Well, I know because I'm in the library field, 7. And how many teens live in the Tallahassee area? Well, 17% of the total population. And ChatGPT tells me this is significant. It's quite a few people across. So again, I look at around Tallahassee in the area. Where do they live? What's the median age? More precisely, this is what I like about ChatGPT. They can't answer it all. They direct me right down here to go to the U.S. Census Bureau to inquire about more detailed demographic data. They're not trying to put on that hat of I know everything. And again, secondly, which public library in Tallahassee serves the most teens? Again, ChatGPT knows they can't put on the hat of know-it-all, and they direct me to data on branches that serve the most teens. It's not publicly available. I know that, but maybe somebody else wouldn't, and contact the library directly. I love that. That gives it validity to me, those 2 aspects of my presentation today. ChatGPT pointed me to the U.S. Census Bureau and to the library for better data. So again, I ask, what media is ideal to reach teens? It ain't the newspaper. Social media. And again, summary of the queries and responses. I put that together here. And again, I thought I got a tremendous amount of information to start building my case to go to the director, along with what homework I need to do with the census and library data. And future impacts of AI for marketing research. I put it together here, certainly analyzing usage pattern, demographic trends, much more complex and specific for libraries. We can certainly use it for that. And remember, it's changing at a very, very rapid pace. And so to keep up with these sources, I have a link here for you too. And I have a lot of references that I think would be useful for you. 2 pages of them, and have the again, questions. And hey, I wanted to highlight our group, the management and marketing section. It's been around since 1998, and so have I. And I'm so thrilled to be here today. And I thank you for your attention and for this opportunity.
Wow. It's been a wow day. Wow presentations, wow people, wow participants. Thank you very much, Christie. Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's give another round of applause. Yes, I'm glad that you were happy with what ChatGPT did to, in terms of creating your bio. So it's working for us. So, colleagues, we have reached the Q&A session, and I'll open this opportunity for those of you who want to type maybe your comments. Maybe you can type your comments or questions on the chat, using the chat, so that we can read them. Christie, I haven't seen any comments. For those of you, maybe if you have, let me just double check. Okay. Okay, I see there are comments, but some are just queries, but we will read some of those. But while colleagues are maybe gathering their thoughts, after, so much for us to chew, while you are gathering your thoughts and writing all those questions and theses and dissertations, I just have a few for Stefan. It's just a comment actually on the trend report. Your last three pages, or rather your last three presentations, they don't just read it and test your plans and takeaways. Wow. And it's just reminded us of some of the things that we take for granted. You spoke about the community development, community engagement activities, marketing skills, and these are some of the things that librarians have been doing, but we didn't look at them as skills per se. We just thought these are things we're doing because we are librarians. We love working with people. We're passionate about our communities. So thank you very much for highlighting that. And for Dr. Modiba, just a quick one. Maybe let me start with you, Christie, while it's still fresh in my mind, while others are writing their comments. You've been traveling, across the world, and I know you are a very good friend of Africa. You've been traveling a lot to Africa. We're waiting for you in South Africa, by the way. In your travel and also in your teaching as well, marketing, what are some of the gaps in marketing when it comes to libraries, where you feel that these are common challenges or common issues related to marketing when it comes to libraries, or how we as librarians are actually doing our marketing? Maybe if you can just pose that question, you can maybe start with that one.
Yes, quickly, I believe, and sincerely, it's overlooking the data that we have already been collecting and using it. We collect a lot of data about our library usage, not as much perhaps about the markets that we serve that are potential. And I think our first step is in data collection and using it for our betterment, so we're in a position to argue the value of libraries, the impact of libraries, the outcomes that our customers have and our potential customers could have. I highly believe that one of our strengths in this field is, in fact, what we're already doing. We're collecting data. We're simply not always using it. All over the world, it's the same thing. We're doing the work, but we're not using it. And that's where we need to have it in hand for budget cuts in the US, where we fight. The sheriff says, oh, the crime has increased here. We need another patrolman. The library needs to be cut one staff person. We got to be in a position to fight back and show the impact that that one librarian has had and has, and the library has, and what a loss it would be.
Thank you very much for sharing. And I see there's a comment. It's from Sisanda Gumete. I think the comment it's directed to Dr. Modiba. It says, Dr. Modiba, where can we access your research findings thesis for further reading on your presentation?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I also tried to respond to Sisanda. I shared my Google Scholar link there.
Okay, I see.
Most of my articles are there. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Doc. And Stefan, I see you've got a hand. You also posted a question. Maybe let me start with your hand. I see you also posted a question on the chat, but we because you can unmute, maybe we'll allow you to just go ahead. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you. I suppose, first of all, I want to obviously thank the other panelists for their for their presentations. I think they sort of the upbeat, positive story of what's possible that Mashilo shared, and I think on Christine's side, absolutely. I think that fact of it's an uncomfortable truth, but it is a truth that we are in competition with other actors, that we are in the public sector, and the government can always spend that money on a new stadium or health or education or tax cuts. And our funders can always do that, and we're not naturally a competitive sector. But the reality is that to some extent we're in competition. Now, obviously, we're not ever going to be saying, well, let's shut down the hospital and build a library. But it is a case of being able to make the case for having libraries as part of the mix. And so I think that not taking for granted, if we do nothing, the money could be spent elsewhere, and there will always be pressures for the money to be spent elsewhere. The question I had for the other panelists, and I've shared with you, Romeo, just directly, but I think we've had quite a positive write-up of AI in the presentations and of technology in the presentations that have been made. If you go to another seminar about AI, it will all be about killer robots. Oversimplification, but a lot of it will be around killer robots. And I know that some people will just tend to sort of, they hear the word AI and they go back and say, I don't want anything to do with that. Don't use AI. Don't analyze my data. I don't want to have anything to do with this. So I suppose the question of it's marketing libraries, but what works in terms of marketing the use of technology in libraries in a way that people understand that it's beneficial, that they see it's positive, and actually maintains the trust that's been sort of so hard earned over the years.
I want to say quickly that I would go back to the story of the paperback briefly, that, in the almost the 30s here, the staff met to see if they would embrace a paperback, a new media. And again, librarians have a tradition of fearing media and then embracing it and then offering it to our customers. So I say it's the story of the paperback.
Wonderful, wonderful. And thanks, Stephen, for highlighting, some of those challenges, which I think Christie also, pondered a little bit on in terms of the budget, and this is not only something that is happening maybe in, public libraries, but also in these private and academic institutions where libraries are not, in many cases, libraries are not prioritized when it comes to budget allocations. If in your institution, like my institution, I'm not marketing. If in your institution, a library is prioritized like where I am, you must be very proud and know that you are very lucky that your library is being prioritized when it comes to budget allocation. So thank you very much for highlighting that. Just one more question for Dr. Modiba and colleagues. You can, I see, maybe let me start with the one from Dr. Refilio Mabaso. Dr. Refilio Mabaso is from the National Library of South Africa. So thank you very much for pitching and joining. And the question is, Dr. Modiba, how do we address the issues of validity and reliability in relation to the use of AI and mainly ChatGPT?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Yeah, this is a very important question, especially for students who are utilizing ChatGPT for research, for writing, and even for literature review. The best way to address the issues of validity and reliability is to engage the articles and everything that you get through ChatGPT. You need to engage it, you need to read it. And because AI can hallucinate, there's the so-called AI hallucination, which means if I look for Romeo, the information that I get the first time might not be about the Romeo that I'm looking for. It can be any other Romeo. It can say Romeo is a politician who contested the president of this country to become the president of the country. And that is not the Romeo I'm actually looking for. But if I don't engage that piece of information I got from ChatGPT, and submit it as my assignment to university, then I'm going to get 0 because that is not Romeo that I was supposed to look for on ChatGPT. So the best way is that we must engage what we get on ChatGPT and do thorough research and literature review using the eligible databases and systems that we are exposed to as information professionals. We must never use ChatGPT as the alpha and the omega. Whatever we get on ChatGPT, we must check with credible databases, credible systems, so that we'll talk to what we are looking for. So once you use ChatGPT and you don't do that, but the quality checks, quality control, you are going to submit the error. That is why we are fighting with students who can just take a question, put it on ChatGPT, get the answer, copy and paste on the script, and send it to us as academics. And that information is not what we are looking for. My advice is that let's engage what we get on ChatGPT, but also utilize a credible systems and databases to check what ChatGPT is saying, if it is correct or if it is not correct. Because AI can hallucinate. If you're not clever, you will preach the wrong gospel to the converted. Then you will be in a serious problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Modiba, and thanks, my colleagues who are also correcting me that Dr. Mabaso is the former chairperson of the National Library of South Africa. And I think we have another question from Patricia Badenhorst, and she said, "This is why AI cannot replace." I think this is more of a comment. "This is why AI cannot replace human intelligence, because there's still some checking and further reading using scholarly material." Thank you very much, Patricia. I'm not sure if there are any other comments here. And also, I'm looking also at the time. And yes, AI need to be supervised. Oh, I thought Dr. Modiba is saying he needs to be supervised. He's referring to AI. Thank you very much. I'm not saying any other comments, but my last comment before I hand over to Krista to do the vote of thanks, I wanted, my plan was to have the 3 speakers just in a minute, summarize your final word before we hand over, and that will be in 30 seconds. Let's see how good you are in marketing yourself, or rather the projects. I'll start with Christie, and I'll give you 30 seconds just to summarize your presentation.
My presentation was a discovery on my part. I'm an expert in marketing. I'm sorry, but I've been doing it for 30 years. So that's just what it is. And but I'm not an expert in AI. And so I enjoyed the discovery process of utilizing a generated AI tool to see its facility for marketing. And I discovered that it could do the groundwork in marketing research and point me to necessary data that I needed that was not, of course, AI generated. And I discovered that it's exciting to embrace new media and to move forward with it and then share it with our customers.
Thank you, Christie, and thanks for joining. Dr. Modiba?
Thank you very much. Through my research—
25 seconds, time is shrinking now.
Through my research, I'm encouraging libraries in the developing countries, public, special, academic libraries, to transform into smart libraries. And I'm saying, if you need a talk, a frank talk, professional talk on how we can harness AI and incorporate it into our services, even in archives and records management, I'm the man to call. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Modiba. And the last person, I'll give this to Stephen Wyber. You've got your 20 seconds.
So I think Kim, just taking Christie's definition of marketing, the sort of design of service and design of, as well as the actual marketing of them. Technology AI is going to shape all of those things. We are going to be both shaped by AI and technology, but we can also use it. And so I think the key thing is that we should avoid complacency, we should avoid passivity, we should avoid oversimplification. we should embrace agency in an uncertain world.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I will hand over now to our working group lead, Krista Visas. Krista, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Yes. Hello, greetings from Estonia. I'm so grateful. I thank all the presenters. I thank all the participants. There were over 100 participants who listened these very interesting presentations. And my conclusion is that we have to let go the saying that the librarians are modest. No, we are specialists. We are specialists on literacy. We are specialists on literature. We are specialists on information literacy, and so on. We have to turn the AI as on our behalf to take the benefits from the AI and work with it. And we also follow the trends, and we have to follow this trend report, which is a very good document and strategical document for all of us. Thank you. And on behalf of our marketing and management standing committee, I thank our lead, Nick, that he promised to do us such a webinar and was supporting us. The great thanks to Romeo, you are a great moderator. And to Rox, you are great technical support. And to all the members of our working group and our section who contributed to this webinar. Thank you, and let's meet in the library and use the AI. Thank you.
AI. Thank you very much. Before you disappear, ladies and gentlemen, if I may, please ask those who are able to switch on their video, if you could switch on your video for Roxana to grab a few photos so that we could probably share some of these photos later, but it will be nice to have photos of all of you who attended here. Thank you very much. I see your beautiful faces are coming. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Roxana, are you able to take a few photos from there?
Oh, sure. Please give us the best smile you have. 3, 2, 1. One more, please. Okay, big smile. That's all. Thank you all.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We've reached the end of the session. Thank you very much for joining us. See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.